Hello, welcome to Moving Iron Podcast number 96, I think. Pretty sure it's number 96.
How many S's are in six?
Six, 5 or 6, I think. Anyhow, got Aaron Fennell and Regina Nardis with me here. It's been a long time since we've done one of these. So we've had plenty of stuff going on the last 2 months. So been kind of hard-pressed to get kind of everybody rounded up. So what's been going on, man?
Nothing.
Nothing at all? I'm pretty quiet.
Well, thanks for being on the podcast today. Just stuff's been moving pretty good. Selling a lot of combines, and they're ramping up even more right now. I would say the only thing that hasn't been, and that's kind of a seasonal deal, even though I say they're not a seasonal product anymore, but row crop tractors is a little slower, but you know, combines, tillage, four-wheel drives, everything's kind of ramping up and hammer down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going in, obviously going into that time of the year where we're going to be selling combines, right? The ramp up to sell combines is there anyway. What are some of the things out there you see a little different about this year that you haven't seen years past? To me, it seems like there's plenty of demand out there. Plenty of demand. More demand than there's been in probably the last couple of years. But it's I don't know if the hesitance to pull the trigger is the right word to use, or if it is, I'm going to wait and see till after harvest, or if it is, I can go through one more year kind of with the way I got things set up, and I'm going to try to just see if I can eke it out and then make that move towards the end of the year. Because it seems like to me, if demand that we have going in to the end of the year, that we have right now, trickles into after, because I don't think we're going to sell a lot between now and corn harvest when it starts, any more than what we've already been on pace to sell.
Right.
Looking towards the end of the year, I think our last 45 days of the year could be fairly busy.
Yeah, I would agree with you on as far as the hesitation and the factors to those hesitation. I know there's a whole lot of, I've talked to a lot of guys on combines that are really big time sitting the fence. And there's not one thing that you can pinpoint, to fix their concerns or whatever on that one issue, and then, okay, let's do it. There's 6 of them. What's going to happen with trade? I can probably patch mine and go. Interest rates, and there's a whole raft, there's 5 or 6 reasons for the feet dragging, if you will. It just kind of the world we're in right now.
Yeah. Not to derail the conversation here, but it's number 97, not 96. So.
Well, there you have it.
It's a correction, folks.
Good year, by the way.
All right, so you're right. There's everyone you talk to, they have the same, no matter where they're at in the country, it's kind of the same feel. Some of them, there's a lot of dealers I talk to that are kind of panicking a little bit about the situation that they find themselves in, whether it be inventory situation or the crop mix, for example, that they're dealing with might just be all corn and beans, and they don't have the diversity, that a lot of other people have. So there is some panic out there.
Well, yeah, and keep in mind, other than the trade scenario that we're dealing with right now, we're dealing with the same economy that we were at planting season. And
right.
This year was a prime example of selling planters in mid to late April yet.
Right.
So that hesitation's been there all year. It's just a matter of, put it off. Damn it, I better buy that.
We had guys that gave up 4% on the EOP.
Right.
And just finally got their mind made up that they're going to get the new planter or whatever it is they're going to get, you know what I mean?
Right.
That they gave that splash up. So, I mean, that kind of goes to show you that a lot of guys were waiting to see what they had locked up before.
Oh, yeah.
Before they were really going to pull any trigger.
Yeah, I know lots of guys. I've talked to guys, all over the country throughout the year that I can think of like 10 guys off the top of my head that are interested in something, and we had the perfect thing and he said it was the perfect thing, but I just can't do it now because I don't know what's out there yet.
Yeah.
And you got parts of the country that are just about drowned out. You got parts that are a desert that aren't used to being a desert. So it's a weird mess of a year.
Yeah, it's a very, there's a lot of challenges already hitting us already the way they are now, and then you couple that with, you get your interest rate thing, you got the tariff thing going on, and then you throw on top.
What's the tariff thing? I haven't heard about that.
Something about, I can't remember what it was. Turks and Caicos, was it going to take something that we were? They weren't taking meat or something. I can't remember what it was.
They weren't taking reservations.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All right, Gina. So you're out social media. That's your thing.
Yep.
What are you seeing? What are you hearing?
Oh, I don't know. Definitely a lot of good-looking corn this year. I've seen a lot of guys showcasing pictures of their plots and corn, and it definitely looks like throughout the Corn Belt, everybody's going to have some pretty decent corn. There's plenty that got hailed out in weather or what so have you, but what is there is going to be a good crop. So that's kind of it on the crop side. It definitely seems, Aaron said that tractors are slow for him, but here on the retail side, we have been selling the crap out of tractors, it feels like, just in the last few weeks.
Yeah.
And a lot of it is extra pieces of equipment, which is kind of odd to think about, or unexpected, I guess.
Yeah, very few trades.
Yeah, not a lot of trades coming back in.
Yeah.
So.
And what trades we are taking in are selling them within the week.
Yep.
It seems like they're just not sticking around.
Or 8 days. Or 8
days, yeah, either
yeah.
one. Whatever, when 6 one, half dozen another, right? Is that like a baker's dozen of weeks or something? Is that what that is? One thing you hear a lot of guys talk about, and I've seen them talk about it a few times, are row crop tractors and 8Rs in general. About they are starting to see some pile up of that. Kind of looking at our inventory, I don't think we're not really having that problem. We do have some stagnant 8Rs, no doubt about it, that we needed to address and figure out how we're going to move forward with some of those. But what do you think? Are you seeing that?
Size,
are you getting that?
Size and spec specific.
Okay, so elaborate on that.
Depends on the size and the specs.
Okay, so just give me an example of a size and a spec.
All right. It all depends. There are, and I would say for say a 500-mile radius of right here, there are times where straight axle power shift, if it's cheap, flies out of here. There's times when straight axle power shift, and regardless of size, straight axle power shift can be free and nobody will take it. Vice versa, ILS, IVT, loaded up fancy. Once in a while, those things get stale for whatever reason. There are areas of the country, if you get, say, the southeast quarter of the U.S., there's a lot more of the straight axle power shift tractors down there. They're a budget rig, and there's a lot of them. There's always a boatload of those over there. For us, I think where we run into trouble with a stagnant 8R would be, and it's kind of our own fault because we do such a good job of pushing the fancy that we'll have, the buyer he's looking at price, or, he wants a 3,000 hour straight axle power shift, and well, I don't have that. I do have a 700 hour ILS IVT, leather seat and dual pump and all that, and it's twice the tractor he wants. So I know there's times for us specifically where things can get stagnant, and it's just because of size or specs. And I know talking with other dealers across the country, it's kind of the same thing. The 8370R, for instance, which is our number one tractor, without question, I would say, has been red hot since 2014, late 2014 when the first used ones came, and they're getting kind of slow. And there's parts of the country where they're getting kind of slow. It just all depends on. And I don't think it's budget necessarily for the farmer, because if he needs that tractor, he needs that tractor. I think it's just a matter of I don't know. To answer the question, I don't know. I don't know why there are certain areas of stagnation. I can't pinpoint it. I know they're there, and I know what they are right now, but I don't know why they are that way right now. Other than, I would say, again, in that radius, maybe even 1,000-mile radius, there are a lot of 370s. And that could be why, for us specifically, they're a little slower. And a lot of Corn Belt dealers, they're a little slower. Plus, that's, unless the guy, to me, that's kind of a more post-harvest, pre-plant tractor that's bought. Whereas right now, it's more of a mid-range or four-wheel drive market, which are the two hotter things out there.
Yeah. And I think that Deere pretty much only made the 8370R from 2015 on. I don't know if they ever made any other. Because it seems like when you look out there, that was the biggest demand track. I mean, because everyone's upgrading from the 8360R or 8345R or whatever it was to that higher horsepower 8370R, and it's really become a mainstay in that horsepower range. Because, not to say that the 8400R hasn't had the adoption rate that we all thought it would have, but even though it's only 30 more horsepower than the 8370R, they really want the 8370R. That's really what people are looking for, especially on the used marketplace. And we're starting to see that kind of trickle through there. So I guess.
Well, and you think about it, the 8400 has its place. If they made an 8500, guys would buy it.
Right.
But that 370, that's 370 engine horsepower. That's an 8760. That's a 9300 four-wheel drive tractor.
Right.
That's MFWD.
It probably weighs the same.
Huh?
It probably weighs the same.
Yeah, that's pretty close.
Yeah.
But so you have a four-wheel drive tractor that is still nimble.
Except
it's as nimble as an 8400,
right.
8300. But it's got the power of a 9300.
Except for being four-wheel drive, it's a mechanical front.
Right. What about, that's what I said. I said it was a mechanical front.
Crickets.
I did. I said it was a mechanical front.
I know. I'm just making a joke there. Jeez.
And that's why that tractor is popular in the wheat belt for guys that it's a tillage rig. And it's popular in the corn belt because it's the planter grain cart fertilizer rig.
And you can still pull a 1,500 bushel grain cart with it.
Absolutely. Yeah. As long as it's not too wet.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, absolutely. That's also,
if it's dry and half full and downhill,
absolutely
all day.
Just coast it right on in.
Yeah.
Right on.
What the hell?
All right, Gene. So what's been going on out at the Narcissus Ranch there?
Kind of ramping back up from a little bit of a slow period. August is kind of a little bit slow, or catch up time, I guess. Putting some hay up, getting ready for millet harvest. That's super exciting. And seeding wheat. We're probably going to wait a little bit longer than what we normally do to seed wheat this year. Just based on kind of what's been happening with our ground and our rotations that we're doing. It seems like our later planted wheat seems to do better for us, so we're going to plant later. There's plenty of guys in the countryside planting wheat or starting to plant wheat this week. So it just kind of depends on where they're at, but getting ready to get back into the busy season.
Right. So how's all the stuff that's going on the backside that we talk about on here, whether it be interest rates or whether it be the tariffs or whatever it is, how is that affecting some of the stuff that you guys are doing on the farm? And like, how's that changed your mindset?
We are definitely, I mean, we're just like any other farmer. We definitely watch the market daily and overnight, it seems like, too, because sometimes there's some money to be
Big
had in the
change.
overnight.
Yeah, big changes.
But we're just keep pricing some contracts a little bit here at a time, especially now that we're getting closer to corn harvest. We have some really good looking dryland corn. The problem in our area where we farm is it's really hard to predict how much corn you're actually going to have.
Right.
So we didn't price a whole lot early, so we're still pricing a lot of our corn crop. But we're definitely, I would say probably the markets has probably made more of an effect on our operation than anything. Like I said, just pricing some contracts and watching what's out there.
Yeah.
We do a lot on the board for our operation, so
Yeah.
my husband does most of that. So it's usually 9 o'clock at night. We're chatting about that before we go to bed because he's watching the overnight trade.
Yep.
But other than interest rates and stuff, I mean, it is what it is.
Right.
You don't really have a choice. I mean,
Yep. No, you can't.
unless you want to
so
switch
much.
banks every month.
Yeah, good luck with that. Yeah. That'll work out
and
well
go
for
through
you.
that painful process. But we'll just keep on keeping on, I guess.
Yeah. Okay, so how much? Someone asked me this question today. How much change in the marketplace has the 700 series combine, S700 series combine, affected the S600 and older combines? Do you feel like there's been enough, I guess, interest in those used ones that the S series combine is going to see a dip in value, like sometimes you see after a new model comes out, the first generation used ones come back?
Well, up to this point, no, because there's like 8 of them in the country.
Well, yeah, but I'm saying like that first generation used is coming back in now, and this is when you kind of start seeing guys start making that transitional mindset into the S700.
Not yet. I think because the bulk of those coming in now are, they're coming in. That's it. They still got a fall harvest to digest
Right.
with that combine. So as far as right now in the market and being able to sign your name and take that used S700 home, there just aren't that many yet.
Mm-hmm.
I think when that does happen, and you and I were talking about this the other day, a lot of it's gonna depend on, is there enough gap for that used machine between that new machine?
Yep.
And the biggest problem of that is how much of that new keeps getting higher. How much of that can the used possibly hold on to before they just become that combine, which we've had in the past when the S's, when we first went from 70 to S, it was an, oh my God, that's a used combine. There's no way they're worth that much. Are we doing that again? And it just happens, and there it is. And
Yep.
there's going to be a lot of scuttlebutt about that, because you look at a loaded up S780 with everything on it.
It's a value price machine.
Oh my God.
They're expensive, but that same conversation.
Well, that's what I mean. That combine with 500 hours on it.
Well, that same conversation's been happening though for every single year since the combine.
Since the 55 came out.
So every year is like, think about it. When the first combine sold for $100,000, I can only imagine the conversation. Gosh, like, you really want $100,000 for that combine? And but now they're saying like, can you believe they want $350,000 for this used combine? And that's
the question. Where does that?
Well, it also comes back to when you look at a lot of the situation that we're having right now. A lot of the stuff that we're having and we're seeing take place is a direct correlation to the amount of acres that need to be cut with less people.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying the number of farms, but I'm saying number of people that are actually showing up to work every day. You know what I'm saying? So now you're looking at take that John Deere 55, right, and its capability compared to this a new which I don't know if you really have nothing to compare it to, but I mean, I'm saying
other than they're both a combine,
right? I mean, that's about where they draw the line. But I mean, look at the level of efficiency that you have between them.
right?
You know what I'm saying? Even if you take a look at from the 2008 9770 to a 2018 S770, I mean, it's a 10-year span, but there's a lot of differences in those combines. It's not just oh look, we put a new sticker on there. Like, there's technology and there's bigger threshing components. I mean, they've made it more efficient in the field. I mean, they've done a lot of things to where they can make it be more efficient and get more stuff done. And, you know, now,
Like perhaps wires and switches.
you know they've done a lot of stuff where they can make that.
There's
I mean, there's not even the same comp. You can't even like draw a correlation between the two.
rotors. The same.
Rotor, yeah.
I mean, but I'm talking like the actual. But you're talking about the actual combines itself. You know what I'm saying? Like they've made them different enough to where there's. But at the same time,
There's a lot of changes from a 70 to an S, and it's a lot of, quite honestly, if you look at 11 to 12, it's a lot of cosmetics and not a lot of, you know, structural combine threshing separating differences. But when you go from the S6 to the S7, there is a boatload of technology differences in there.
right?
Same box, same shell, same, you know, nothing to really drive on the road and go, ooh, that's a 700. But there is a boat, and I like to kid and make fun of it all the time, but there is a boatload of technology in there.
Yeah.
So, how much are wires and switches worth?
Well, how much is your efficiency worth? I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Right.
Is that combine going to make you more efficient or
It's
not?
kind of like when I remember when auto steer first came out,
Mhm.
you know, back in the late 90s, you know, very, very infancy. The system was like $50,000.
Yeah.
And one of the things that stuck in my young salesman head at the time was a guy that had it. You know, we're sitting here talking about pass to pass and all this, and how many acres did you have to possibly farm to make $50,000 for a tractor to steer itself pay? And he says, well, you know, and this guy had it all down to the, you know, gnat's ass on everything. He said the one thing you can't put a number on, he says, I can drive that tractor for 14 hours and I get out and I felt like it was 3.
Yeah, 'cause you're not
Time.
manhandling it. Yeah.
Time, efficiency, all that.
Yeah. So I guess going back to the question we asked, if you take a look at from a 2008 to 2018, and you just look at how much a brand new 2008 costs and a brand new 2018 costs, it's a pretty significant number as far as the difference in the price increases over the year. Now, granted, tons of R&D went into that, whether it was John Deere systems.
What do you think the number is? 150?
I did the math. I
Yeah,
know-
what was it?
I know.
140, wasn't it?
It's about $140,000,
Right.
depending on specs and depending on what you had and everything.
Well,
else.
like for like.
Yeah, if you
Size
went-
for size.
If you went straight across, 4-wheel drive for 4-wheel drive or 2-wheel drive for 2-wheel drive, and the basic spec options, it's about $140,000. So when you start kind of factoring that in and thinking about that, the amount, one is technology has gotten cheaper, right? The same $50,000 system that guy bought today is like $1995.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like hardly anything. But you spend the same exact amount of money today, and what you could do then for $50,000 and what you can do now for $50,000 are light years apart.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's that
You could for 50 grand.
you can drive yourself, baby.
There you
Get
go.
your own driving car. See, it's a great example of that. Same amount of money. And you don't have the what was those things? The easy steer.
Easy steer.
With
Oh yeah, the wheel.
the wheel that ran
Yeah.
up around the steering wheel.
The wheel on the wheel.
Yeah. So, long story short, long story longer, I guess, is do you feel like there's going to be a demand for that used combine now?
I think there will. I think the amount of demand is going to depend on not to keep bringing it up, but it's going to depend on price. And it's going to depend on, you know, this guy could go either way. How much back is it going to take for him to say, new's not worth it and I'll buy used?
Right.
Other than just dollars.
Yeah, I think when you start looking at guys, like you see some of these combines out here priced for $380,000, $390,000, and for $50,000 more you can buy the brand new one. Well, obviously, in my opinion, if the guy can buy a $390,000 combine, he can probably buy a $460,000 combine.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Or a $440,000 or $430,000 combine too. You know, so to your point of how far back does it need to be,
Or a quarter of ground.
that's exactly right. If you think about it, you're exactly right. But in order to make that combine pay for itself, you might have to take up a quarter of ground to make it go. But I still think that there's demand out there for the for lower hour equipment, whatever that is. I mean, that's a complete vague term that means so much to so many different people. But there'll be enough out there that there's going to be enough people that say, I have to upgrade my combine now. I have to, or I'm going to do a large amount of reconditioning to it. And how does that?
Or use it for a combine and a seeder.
Yeah, that too. Giant broadcast spreader, you know.
Leaves these two nice yellow trails from the field.
So do you feel like the combine marketplace is going to see, because it's struggle right now. Combines are piling up. Mm-hmm. They were coming down, and now they're coming back up. So do you feel like there's enough demand going into 2019 for people to upgrade their combine that this is going to make a big enough difference that you're going to see, and I'm not saying a feeding frenzy of any kind, but just you're going to start seeing a downward trickle in as far as inventories go across the country? Or do you still think it's going to be, I'm going to sell one, trade one in, sell one, trade one in, sell one, trade one, it's going to stay about the same or flat?
You're going to see increased demand. Here's what could happen. You're going to see enough demand for that used S7, if priced in line that it makes sense, that I think you could see some trickle off of it supporting 15, 16, 17 S's. I think.
Okay, so if I'm talking a 15 model S670, 680, how many hours are going to be on something like that? That's going to be how many? I guess so. If I have a 2011 or 2012 9770, right? It's going to have 2,500 to 3,000 hours on it, right? Roughly guessing somewhere in that range, right? If you figured that you cut 300 hours a year for 10 years, that's 3,000 hours, right? Roughly, okay. So when you have all that factored in there, when I go buy an S780 or 680 that's got 2,000 separator hours on it now, I'm trading that one off for about $1,000 or 1,000 separator hours and about $150,000 in trade value. Is that going to be? Is that? You see what I'm saying? Like, is that?
Yeah, but that's
spread?
not the combine. I'm not talking about 1,000, 2,000 separator hour combines. I'm talking about 1,000 or less separator on the 15, 16, 17.
Well, I'll give you that on the 17 and the 16. You might well find that. It's going to be hard pressed to find a less than 1,000 separator hour on a 15.
No, there's tons of them out there. Because there's a lot of combines in the world that only get 250 sep a year. Out here, not so much.
Right.
Because we've got, guys got a lot of acres, and you got wheat, you got beans, you got corn. There's a lot of places in the Corn Belt that are 250 a year.
Which I would agree with that, but it's a
15, 16, 17, 18.
18. So
that's 800 hours.
Or 1,000. So yeah, I could see that. But you're still looking
I'm not talking all 15s, just those ones left that are in that hours.
The other problem that we're facing now is not so much It's not so much the hour range, but it's the price to trade.
Right.
That's scaring. Like in that example right there, a 2015 S670 that's got 1,500 separator hours on it or 1,000 separator hours on it. What's something like that worth? I'm just guessing here. I'm gonna guess 225, something like that. Full blow, like high end retail. I mean, that's where you're gonna be at.
Yeah.
Right, and the guy that's got a 2,500 to 3,000 separator 9770. That's a $80,000 retail machine, right? So you're looking at $130,000 to $100,000 to trade. Is he gonna be like, holy crap?
What, he's gaining 1,000 hours.
Right.
And what's he gaining that you love to talk about? Love to talk about all the time on equipment.
What's that?
Technology.
Well, yeah, but still, though, he also has to say to himself, see, when I bought this 2008, I'm basically giving him $70,000 less than what it cost me to buy this. Well, not quite that much. $110,000 less than what it cost me to buy it brand new. And I kept it this long because I didn't want to have the $40,000 or $50,000 payment.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So now, I mean, it's trade difference.
So what's your argument for that?
Well, I don't know. That's what I'm asking. Like, I don't know the answer to this question. So I sit there and think about it all the time. It's not so much the hours. That
what you're saying right there is the justification for that hit, which is opposite of a hit, but I call it a hit, that used takes from the new jumping.
Right. No, I agree.
That's a prime example of that right there.
But even
on 5 to 10-year-old machines, it's there.
Right. I don't know the answer to that question. People ask me that all the time. I have no idea how to answer that question. So I don't know what I would do. I'd be like, I'm gonna keep what I got. You know what I mean? Like, unless you can't. But then you're getting to the point now where you have an $80,000 combine. You're gonna sink $40,000 into it. Why would you do that?
There are guys that do that.
I understand.
And keep doing that.
Yep.
Because it's paid for, and whatever they spend on repairs is it, and let's go. You can rebuild them to new.
Well, you sure can.
And there's guys that like to do that. That's
their thing.
That's like their thing in the winter. Let's pull this thing in and gut it to the frame and rebuild it.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's true. What do you think? What's your
unfortunately it's the very next year they want to trade it and you go, ooh.
Yeah.
Sorry you did all that.
Because you just made it run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's worth something, but I mean, you it's not worth the $40,000 more. You know what I mean? That's the hard part. What's your opinion on all this?
I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of in the nervous part too, where you start pricing a used machine with 500 separator hours too high, and yeah, that guy might just buy new because it's not that much extra at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, this whole technology and price increase that I've seen in my short amount of time in the equipment industry is mind-boggling.
Yep. I'm anxious to see what the new chopper, how much it costs.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That 9,900 or whatever it is.
90.
1,000 horsepower,
Yeah.
bro.
I know.
1,000 horsepower. That's some juice. So I mean, and especially in that marketplace where that is like the only other thing John Deere makes that's more niched than a forage harvester is a sugarcane harvester.
Yeah.
That's really it. I mean, you start thinking about
Cotton.
it. I mean,
Cotton.
I would still say the sugarcane harvester wins because you know why? It's a very finite area that you can cut. It's like,
What?
you know,
Yeah.
it's like there's like a few patches in the world. It's like the sugar beet harvest, but it's worldwide scale, right? It's just like 5 patches in the whole world that cut.
Well,
you know what
yeah.
I mean? It's just like this whole. So then you got to start.
That's
looking at
about
that.
right.
I mean,
It is. It's about an area in about 5 states.
Yeah.
Cotton is more widespread than that. You're right.
Cotton goes basically from California all the way across the south to all the way there. Even gets as far north as
Kansas.
Well, there's some people in Nebraska I heard that were experimenting with it.
There always is.
So I mean, I don't know how well that works for them, but
Well, keep in mind there too, you know, we've had it in the roadside and we've had it in the ditch.
Well, we all picked the
We
cotton,
all
they
picked it.
never
We
got
didn't get rich, so got to be careful.
Yeah. So I think there's a lot more issues out there right now than what people. I'm bullish. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to sit here and pretend like I'm not, but I'm bullish towards the end of the year. I think we're going to have a strong finish to 2018, and I think 2019 is going to be there. But there's a lot of issues that we were kind of coming out of have kind of built back up.
Mm-hmm.
Combines being one of them. I kind of feel like that way with some of the 4-wheel drives, especially.
Combines, we were in way better shape a year ago than we are now, though.
I would agree with that 100%.
Where you went up pretty good.
Mhm.
Nice, slow, steady year and a half climb. And now, I think since May, we've been almost sharply down.
Well, I think also when the tariff thing rolled out, that had a bigger effect on people's buying than people want to admit. Because it went from, there was a lot of deals that we were working on pre Trump coming back from China saying, "Boys, we just made the best deal in the world. We're gonna." They want more than we can grow, or whatever, you know, for paraphrasing, you know. And then 2 weeks later, it was like, yeah, how about that? That wasn't necessarily. That's what we're shooting for, you know. We thought we had that locked up. So since then, and then, you know, commodities fell off $2, you know, and there's a lot of trickle down there. But
Yep.
I will argue that there was no more activity when soybeans were $2 more a bushel than they are now.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like there were just people kicking the door down to go buy stuff then.
Well, keep in mind, soybeans themselves don't have much impact in our AOR.
Well, no, but corn does.
All right.
And wheat follows corn.
And wheat, yeah. And I mean, wheat is kind of in an odd situation right now because of the stuff happening in Russia and Ukraine and all that stuff, where they're going to ban, or you talk about banning, or talk about putting an export tax on wheat that they have out there. So I mean, there's, you know, wheat is always kind of that one that kind of follows everything where else it goes, and this is kind of the one kind of blazing its own trail now,
Yep.
based on that, because it's the only positive news in the world right now that shows
Right.
somebody's losing somewhere, so we're gonna win by God, you know. So that's kind of the stuff you see there. But I think there's a lot of answers that we don't have to figure out, and figure out how we're going to deal with them going into the end of the year to maintain the same strength that we're on.
Well, I think too, part of that is there's a lot of guys that have held on to their crop
Yeah.
in the hopes of hearing better news,
Yeah,
so they've
that's
been
true.
hanging on to it.
Yeah.
And at the end of the year, they might not be able to hang on to it anymore.
Right.
So, and you know what happens when you sell something as a farmer? You normally have to buy something to offset
Right.
that cost for
Yeah.
taxes.
Yep.
So,
Especially the way things are now. I mean, you have to be careful about what you trade in and how that
Mhm.
looks. I mean, the 2-for-1 thing is not as good as it used to be.
yeah.
Right.
You know, 'cause there's a lot of impact, unless you're trading in 2-for-1 and the 2 are worth what the 1 is, you know, and then you kind of offset that. But I don't know. It's probably, as long as I've been doing it, this is probably one of the more dynamic years that I've been a part of, negatively, because of there's so many things that are just like, if any one of those things fall out of bed, there's a huge ripple effect to the backside. So I just feel like there's plenty of stuff going on, and I guess that's why we do what we do.
Always an adventure.
Always an adventure. All right, well, we've been going for 40 minutes now, so I feel like we've covered about anything that we want to cover long enough that, as long as anybody wants to listen to us talk anyway. So Aaron, let's just say, for example, all right, I'm at home, sitting on the couch with my iPad, and I'm like, you know what? I want to see what Aaron Fennell's up to. Where would I go find him at?
At Aaron Fintel on Twitter,
Okay.
or call or text me 308-760-1193.
All right. So if I want to get some pictures of a 4-wheeler chasing cows across the country, or an
Or
amazing
kids eating kolaches.
kolaches,
If you want to know what
that's
a
good one.
kolache is.
Yeah, if you want to know a kolache, I didn't know what that was till the other day, so I'm now educated. Or beautiful Nebraska sunsets.
Right.
How would I see those?
Twitter at RRJANOUSEK, or Facebook or Instagram, Virginia Artist.
Yeah, it's a soft J. Yeah, no shit. Soft J. You can find me at Moving Iron LLC on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. You can also check out my website, movingironllc.com. And you can find, I got some blogs out there, and I've got some information about the Moving Iron Summit coming up here in Las Vegas. And you can find past and current episodes of this very podcast. See what else. You can also send me an email at movingironpodcast@movingironpodcast.com. And I think that's about it. Shout out to Dawson Tire and Wheel for being a sponsor of this program. They are the premier ag tire and wheel provider in North America, so get a grip. It's good stuff. Thanks a lot, guys. And if everything goes right, knock on wood, we're going to be, the three of us will be in Husker Harvest Days next week. I'm not going to tell you what day because it's a jinx if I tell you that, and then all of a sudden we're going to be not going or whatever. So I look forward to seeing anybody there. Stop by the Dawson Tire and Wheel booth. We'll be there. And what else? Anything else you can think of? Aaron? Okay. Well, I think that will do it for this edition of the Moving Iron Podcast. So until next time, I am Casey Seymour.
I'm Aaron Fennell.
Regina Nargis.
Let's go move some iron, folks. Have a great one. Out.